Ladies and gentlemen, Harlequin here, and welcome to another episode of HarlequinCasts, Company of Heroes. Today's game brings us all the way down to the murky, polluted shores of the map Industrial Riverbed. And this, of course, was never featured in Company of Heroes Online or anything like that, so it's kind of new to me. But it's a pretty fantastic looking map here, which is good because we have a pretty fantastic 1 versus 1 game. Looking around, you can see all sorts of wild debris all over the place, and what appears to be a shot-down bomber of some sort. Now, looking at this tail fin, you might be tempted to say, no, that's a B-24, but no, clearly we have an RAF logo there, so that has got to be a Halifax bomber. That's what I'm going to go with here. But all sorts of just random polluted stuff kind of lying around, and that is clearly a U.S. Navy Hellcat. So we have a U.S. Navy Hellcat, a British bomber, and combined with the fact that there are what appear to be windmills in the background, I'm going to have to go with I have no goddamn idea where this map is actually situated in history. But that's fine, because today we have two fine gentlemen and a very weird game today. So a lot of times I like to focus on really strategically intense games that just have awesome decision-making and macro and you know, weird top-level play. This game, not so much. I mean, it's got a lot of that too, but it's a very non-standard game, and I really was entertained by it. So over here on the right hand side, playing as the Panzer Elite, we have Mr. UssrBearHuggers, and you can see already, check it out, he's got a little Schwimmwagen. Look at this thing. Oh man, so this was a special unit that was introduced with Tales of Valor. It replaces the Kettenkrad for the Panzer Elite. You can see it's got a little outboard motor, and it's just a pretty pimpin' ride there. Kind of a tiny, it's got oars and I don't know, man. So it's just like the Kettenkrad, although I think it's a little tougher. It can go through water, some random crap like that. Kind of interesting. And his opponent today on the left-hand side of the map is going to be Mr. Audemed2. Now, we've already seen quite a few replays from Audemed. He's a fantastic individual, and he goes about today's game in a pretty unique way here. And the outcome is, of course, very entertaining. I'm going to go ahead and get this game started, and let's see how people spread out around the map right now. So, taking a look again, the map is quite interesting. It's got your normal sort of diagonal split here of victory points across whatnot there. And then just lots of watery regions with little bits of deep water and things like that that you kind of have to go through. A central island that has a central victory point. A good liberal spread of everything around here. However, note that most bases just have a single 5-point fuel right outside them, and then there is a 16 fuel, so a very high fuel point at the top and bottom. So fuel is not too prevalent, but there's tons of munitions. I mean, just munitions freaking everywhere. So it makes for a pretty interesting build here. So looking around, we can see that Audemed has already begun with just kind of a standard barracks here, and his opponent today is just kind of spreading out with his Schwimmwagen and beginning production on the Panzer Grenadiers, something that we should see a lot of. Taking a look around, we still haven't seen anything yet from Audemed. Let's see, Audemed going for three engineers. Audemed's going for 3 engineers and he's going for an opening Jeep. We don't see a lot of Jeep play necessarily early on. I see it quite a bit actually in team games, but for 1 versus 1, that's kind of clever. You can be very mobile, put a lot of pressure, combines pretty well with a lot of things, but I enjoy Jeeps here and there. We can see that Audemed's just kind of spreading out, capping around the map here, and I'll just, keep an eye on what's going on. We can see these central grenadiers. I really like what's going on here for UssrBearHugger. I'm just going to call him Bearhugger for now. That's a little bit easier. He's going in really deep, and he's going to capture a very vital point here in front of Audemed's base. You can see that this point here will threaten to split Audemed's side of the map, left and right, if he can capture it. So it's very important that Audemed holds on to that. And you can see that this opening Jeep here, equipped with its little either 30 or 50 caliber machine gun, I'm not exactly sure, is putting a little bit of pressure on these guys. It's a pretty light vehicle. We talked about the Panzer Elite having some glass cannons. The Jeep is just glass, period. It breaks up pretty easily. You can see taking a lot of damage here from light arms fire. But, it can do some pretty good damage there with its machine gun. Doesn't really suppress or anything, but so he's going to have to back away for the time being. And so hopefully Audemed's going for a second Jeep now. So we've got some massive Jeep play going on right now for Audemed. Pretty interesting indeed. Jeeps, however, as I can point out here, they take a lot of damage from just kind of small arms fire. So this is going to be kind of tricky. You can see he's using his engineers to repair them. For Dawn of War 2 players out there, this should look very familiar. This is a very Imperial Guard style thing here with Sentinels and Imperial Guardsmen repairing their walkers. That's exactly what's going on here, more or less. Now you can see the second Jeep coming onto the battlefield from the south, and unfortunately, nobody can repair Panzer Grenadiers. They just will die eventually. So you can see the Panzer Grenadiers very smartly hiding behind this yellow cover behind some tank traps here, but eventually just going to get chased away. I think the smart move to do here is just to focus fire the engineers as the Dawn of War 2 players are probably well aware of. We can see now that the engineers are maybe starting to take some fire. It's hard to tell exactly if he's going to put any damage into that. The Jeeps are definitely getting shot up, but they're looking pretty good here. So the nice thing about this, however, for BearHuggers is that he's forcing the conflict on Audemed's side of the river, which means that his little Schwimmwagen, beep, beep, look at this thing. Oh, God, it's so awesome. Could just do nothing, apparently. Oh, no, it is capturing that point there, so that's looking pretty good for him. Now we can see that it looks like these engineers are starting to take the focus fire here from these Panzer Grenadiers. That's no good at all. The Jeeps have got to be careful. You can see their hit points are just flying down right now. Lots of focus fire coming out of those Panzer Grenadiers, and they are just going to back off for the time. And we have a third Jeep on the battlefield right now for Audemed. So Audemed is in this for the win here. He is going for vehicles, ladies and gentlemen. This is not a build order I really ever see. I'm not even sure how viable it is, but we'll see. There are plenty of things that the Panzer Elite, of course, can do. But I'm really curious where this is going to go right now because, as you can imagine, Jeeps do not last very long in terms of the length of the game. They become a lot less viable later game. So if Audemed is truly going to be going for just kind of a mass armored approach here, wow, look at that damaged engine, but he was able to drive them back, inflicting some casualties, but for the most part they're getting out of there kind of low. If Audemed's going to be doing this late game, he's going to need something more. He's going to have to go to Greyhounds or something like that. So we'll see where that's going to go. More towards the south here, we can see that the engineers are kind of skirmishing away, and I am just frankly amazed that those engineers were able to beat back the Panzer Elite like that, the Panzer Grenadiers. So perhaps they just weren't being microed appropriately or something like that, depending on what was going on. But it looks like, it's pretty dead even right now. Audemed is up just a little bit because he grabbed his victory point early on. Not entirely necessary, but it certainly helps when his opponent hasn't managed to do that yet. You can see the Schwimmwagen. Oh, there we go, schwimming away. There's Schwimmwagen, by the way, swimming car, I guess. Doing its thing out there. And now, oh God, poor Schwimmwagen, get out of there. Oh, look at that damage. That is pretty terrible damage indeed. Schwimmwagen going to have to beep out of there, and he is just like, sniff you jerks later. He can drive through the water, no problem. You can see how slow these Jeeps are here. Just barely getting out of there, using his schwimmy goodness to his own advantage there. More towards the south, I love the aggression that we're seeing right now out of BearHuggers here, just continuing to cap all on Audemed's side. And again, notice he is just honing in on this square right here. It's very important to identify squares like this on your opponent's grid. That'll just cut them apart. Look at this. These two grids right here will just fragment all of Audemed's side of the map here. Audemed, however, really needs to have Raid if he wants to be able to take advantage of having all these Jeeps. Raid is, of course, an armor commander ability that allows him to capture with his light vehicles. And let me take a look around. So here's a neat little trick that Armand KG taught me. He is a fellow excellent commentator. He does Company of Heroes. And he taught me an interesting thing, which I had never ever noticed before, which is simply the default background. So if I'm selecting a Jeep, notice by the way, we've got 4 Jeeps here just chasing away. A wonderful pincer attack, by the way. 2 Jeeps on top, 2 on bottom, just kind of focus firing, chasing away the wounded. If you just select one player and hit escape, this default icon down here will let you know. Since we're seeing a default USA logo there, it means that Audemed hasn't picked a tree yet. But if he does pick a tree, like put some points into armor that are passive, he'll have an Armor Commander logo there, so that applies to the players. Kind of a neat little trick there to find out early on if they've spent any points yet or not. So we do have just massive supply damage going on all over the place. So Audemed is just fractured all over the place, but at the same time, he's doing similar things to his opponent right now. Very disruptive tactics going on for both players here, and unfortunately, Audemed has nothing on this side of the field right now. His side of the base is completely at the mercy of BearHuggers. However, you can see we have just a flotilla of Jeeps here. I'm not sure if that's the correct grouping term for Jeeps or not. I'm quite sure it's not, actually, but I kind of like the way it sounds here. We have a gaggle of Jeeps out here right now. A murder of Jeeps just doing tons of terrible damage here. Unfortunately, these poor Panzer Grenadiers are stuck at the hit points they're at right now. I'm pretty sure that BearHuggers understands if they retreat, they're going to die. They're just going to get run down by Jeeps. And so I think he's just in it to stall right now. He actually even got a single casualty on these engineers, so that's not a bad idea. But right now, we're almost seeing a gravitational shift right now in control over the map. The map has completely changed from being horizontally oriented to vertically oriented, if that makes any sense at all. We've got, again, this is a kind of a diamond shape, so it's kind of hard to identify, but top left versus lower right instead of top right versus lower left. So we've completely shifted 90 degrees the control of the map right now. Kind of interesting, but that tends to benefit Audemed if he has presence in the center right now, because that'll give him control of 2 victory points. But honestly, I'm not even sure he's concerned at all about victory points right now. He is just gunning down people with Jeeps and apparently having a blast at it. So we'll have to see exactly what his strategy is. I'm kind of having trouble making called shots with this one on the field anyways. We can see right now that the Panzer Grenadiers, oh god, no, they are trapped in a building. They should have just retreated immediately. They need to get out of there. They are way too low. Eventually, all these little 50 again, I forget if they're 50 or 30 caliber. They look kind of small. I don't know. We'll go with 50 caliber though. Who knows? Anyhow, doing tons of damage to these guys. Oh, completely killing that squad. That is very unfortunate. But now we can see we do have armored cars out of the field. Armored cars will certainly... Oh my god, look at those armored cars. Again, if you missed any of my original Panzer Elite stuff, you'll remember that we talked about the fact that armored cars for Panzer Elite are very, very weak. They can be damaged easily by small arms fire. And as you can see, having a quadruple Jeeps focus firing it is no fun at all. He went ahead, fired up his overdrive, and just had to get the hell on out of there, knocking the door off of that gate on his way out of there as well. So, unfortunately, I do not believe armored cars are a counter to Jeeps in any way, shape, or form. He probably shouldn't have got that, although they are a great counter to lots of engineers, so, you know, we could always see that help. The Schwimmwagen continuing to beep its way around the map here. I don't know why I find this unit so goofy. I mean, it's just so tiny.